Welcome to the Real CP Show. I am your host, CP. And today's topic, this innocent preteen black male youth was drowned to fatality by these very two violent, passed down demon seeds that have their DNA etched in hatred toward Black Americans, these particular Anglo preteen males. But Black Americans are told racism was a long time ago. They tell us to Black Americans collectively every day. And I'm like, get the Hades out of here with that tactic. While it's still going on. And I'm like, look at this, like, you got certain numbers of people within certain parts of the predominant culture. I'm talking about this relating to the one supplies to. They literally have this animosity and minimization of consistently Black pain, right, to Black Americans. And you see how they keep trying to tell Black Americans collectively, adults, don't worry about that, get over the past. But then how many, unfortunately, within certain sections of Black Americanism that have some responsibilities that keep trying to tell their Black youth, Black American youth, well, you know what, just work hard, think positive. What, you think this particular youth Black American male deserves to sit there and be Black pained? What, he won't think about no racism? Do you understand? So numbers of these Black American kids, children, are not prepared at all in a collective way as they grow up and thinking, oh, I got some friends that are Anglo. I got some friends that are Anglo adjacent. I got some friends within certain sections of Anglo Asianness, certain sections of Anglo Hispanicism. You get the point. And then he found out how many times deadliness are through the anti-Black Americanism terminology of the N word being used. And then these youth Black American kids are shocked. Do you understand? You understand? Look what happened to the Carmelo Anthony situation. Look at the hatred that he's still getting, right? You're going to forget about the Metcalf guy, the Austin Metcalf, right? The high school Anglo, who no one told him to go over there to Carmelo Anthony and commit assaultness toward Carmelo Anthony, the Black American. No one told him to do that. The Black guy. No one told him to do that. Do you understand? But within section of society, they tell, well, he had a knife. That's irrelevant. How about making sure to tell people keep their little white claws off of Black Americans, the ones who do this? You see, they don't talk about that. Or the situation with the Anglo Asian Rick, the wannabe KKK child by his actions, right? Who chased down with his little nonsensical demon Anglo Asian son, right? And his angry little anti-Black Americanism wife, right? Who went the door too, right? They had that hatred for Black Americans. Even though when the video showed he did not steal Osiris, the like 14, 15-year-old Black American youth. Right? Do you understand this hatred? And he gets acquitted. Rick, the KKK actions child, gets acquitted for booming the 14, 15-year-old Black American youth that it was accused of stealing water, and the video shows he didn't. And you hypocrisize-ness and say, let's vice versa-ness and see if the same type of verdict would have been allowed. Do you understand? Right? Let me go ahead and play this particular video. I'm utilizing this under timepiece purpose and fair usage doctrine because we cannot forget these Black American youth and their lives that's being lost over this tragic anti-Black Americanism hatred.
Right now, the drowning death of that 8-year-old boy, Noah Bush from Jessup, is being ruled a homicide. And according to the Wayne County Sheriff's Office, 2 children are facing charges. And listen to this, parents. They are 10 and 11 years old.
It's just very hard to accept and understand why anyone would do this, especially children. But what is more difficult to understand is why adults would participate in concealing this. And some of them maybe even walked around with the Bush family that night, pretending as if they were looking for Noah, not knowing where he was.
WJCL 22 News' AJ Sisson joining us live from the Jessup Courthouse. AJ, help us put our arms around this because you have been reporting on this story from the very beginning.
What put a person's head around what? That 2 hateful Anglo males, youth, preteens, that sit there and had their sinister hatred for Black Americanism, and however one or both pretended to be his friend. You talking about he can't wrap their head around that part? That anti-Black Americanism hatred, be it toward adults, be it toward numbers of Black teens, what, act as if that has stopped? You mean to keep that naive thought pattern as, I can't wrap my mind around that.
That this family's fight for justice started ever since Noah died back in May.
And Greg, it has been a tough story to cover. And ever since that night that Noah went missing, the investigation revealed that he left with kids he thought were his own friends. And now we're learning that those kids are responsible for his death.
He walked away with people he thought were friends and trustworthy. It's just very hard. With people he walked away with people he thought were friends and trustworthy. It's just very hard to accept and understand.
And it ain't nothing to understand. What's to understand? Hatred for Black Americans is still a consistently allowed systemic sit there in entertainment, allowed in various sections within Americanism. What's to understand? Right? When did it stop?
For the family of Noah Bush, the 8-year-old found dead in a borrow pit on May 16th. Originally, no foul play was involved.
Noah and the 2 juveniles involved in this got into some argument.
2 juvenile Anglo preteen males.
And an argument led to them pushing Noah into the water and possibly holding his head underwater.
The Wayne County Sheriff's Office says the 2 juveniles are 10 and 11 years old, both charged with concealing his death. Says the 2 juveniles are 10 and 11 years old, both charged with concealing his death and criminal trespass. The 11-year-old charged with simple battery and involuntary manslaughter.
Grateful for the arrests that were made today, but we still have a long road ahead of us because until Noah receives his justice, there will be no peace.
Now, isn't that something, right? Now, it's supposed to be, what, a 250-year anniversary, and today is June the 21st, 2026. This is Juneteenth weekend. I don't go now. That's a whole different topic where you got people that had jumped on a bandwagon with that part, but never had to experience Black pain for centuries. That's a different topic. And you see they got the American flag and how many Black Americans have fought and bleeded, right? Lost their lives, got lynched, got salivated on, got choked out, got slapped, got unlibertized, right? Got KKI'd. And still Black Americans have been fighting to be shown. Black Americans have been fighting for centuries to be shown, or to sit there and say, hey, treat us as humans. Do you understand? Well, you got these various other groups and tellers and cosplayers that fled from places that look like them and benefit off of Black pain. Right?
Statement from Wayne County Sheriff Chuck Mosley. It says, in part, the investigation continues as we await the completion of the enhancement of the videos obtained during this process. The Glenn County District Attorney Keith Higgins says that the arrests of these juveniles may not be the end.
We are disappointed that today was not the full justice that we expected. It was not the full justice that this family deserves and that this community has been organizing around and fighting for.
Days after Noah's death, Jessup held numerous protests and rallies asking for justice for Noah because it was his mother that always knew something was not right.
She was absolutely right that this community, they knew Noah and that these were neighbors that did this to him. These were neighbors that participated in the taking of her baby's life.
Neighbors. They were complicit in this. Complicit in the unalivement, indirectness of Noah Bush. Right? And then when you read about the little two Anglo little cretin demon youth preteens, the one that applies to in this situation, either one or both of them was sitting there helping to act as if they were being concerned. You know, that's demoness. What do you mean by that? Let me read this for just a little bit. Read just a little bit of this. Make sure you can see this. Boys, and you two Anglo demon violent boys, preteens. I want you to look at the ages 10 and 11. Where did they get that hateful anti-Black Americanism from? Not hateful because Noah Bush was an African. What is that supposed to mean when Africa didn't even exist several hundred years ago? That's a whole different thing in itself. There was no Pan-Africanism. There certainly is no Pan-Caribbeanism. What, he was done that way because he was Caribbean? They looked at him and said, oh, he must be Caribbean. When there's no Pan-Caribbean love, look what's going on in Haiti, right? No Pan-Caribbean love, jumping up and down, helping Cuba out. So it goes. Two Anglo boys, preteens, violent ones, 10 and 11, convicted in drowning unalivement of an eight-year-old Black American preteen boy or male. Family wants full justice. Second grader Noah Bush body was found at the bottom of a construction pit on May the 16th. May your soul rest, Noah Bush. A 10 and 11-year-old Anglo boy teens, preteens, whose names have not been publicly released, have both been sentenced to 2 years in juvenile detention for their roles in 8-year-old Noah Bush's drowning. In juvenile court last week, the 11-year-old, who is white, told the judge that he had pushed the Noah, grammar on that, right? Who is Black American, who into the county pit, and then held his head under the water. According to such and such personnel who attended the hearing, the 11-year-old's mother, Natalie Hardison, has been charged with giving false statements to enforcement. At first, investigators believe 8-year-old Noah Bush accidentally fell into the construction pit. This grammar stuff. Construction pit and drowned in Jessup, Georgia in May. Then in July, enforcement uncovered something much more sinister. A 10, 11-year-old Anglo demon, violent, preteen Anglo white, the boys, whose names have not been publicly released, have both been convicted in connection to the second grader's drowning. I'm not gonna read all this. In juvenile court last week, the 11-year-old, who is Anglo white, told the judge that he had pushed the black American child into the construction county pit, however, and then held his head under the water. May your soul rest, Noah Bush. May your soul rest. Following the child's admission, he was convicted. Following the Anglo preteen violent child's admission, he was convicted of involuntary manslaughter, simple battery, concealing the unalignment of another, and trespassing, which led to him being sentenced to 2 years in a youth detention facility. The maximum sentence allowable based on his age, according to that, you mean that, however, personnel say so. Because if this was vice versa, they would have tried to figure out how to find out how can they sit there and charge him as an adult. Do you understand? At the sentencing hearing, at the sentencing hearing Thursday, August 22nd, Noah's mother, Demetrius Bush, gave a victim impact statement, a copy of which her lawyers released to such and such, in which she mourned the loss of her little boy with dreams of becoming someone great, and those dreams were snatched away relentlessly. Referring to the 11-year-old in court, Demetrius added, even though he knows right from wrong, even though he lied to keep himself out of trouble because he knew what he did was wrong, he's treated as a victim when it's my son who is unalive. Well, apparently he did not know what's right from wrong, apparently. Last month, a 10-year-old who is also white was convicted in a hearing of criminal trespassing and concealing the unalivement of another, and sentenced to 2 years in a juvenile facility as well. The 11-year-old Anglo mother, bad version, what I'm talking about, Natalie Hardison, has also been charged with giving false statements to enforcement. Let's see how she looks. Oh my goodness, look at that. Ew. Yuck. Do you see the apple didn't fall from too far from the mother's tree, right? The Anglo, this particular Anglo mother's tree. This one. Just this one. Look at that. Look at that. Ugh. At the time, such and such, personnel enforcement said that no foul play was involved and that Noah had wandered to the pit and drowned. All right, no, nothing to see here. But Noah's family, who did not believe the 8-year-old, knowingly afraid of large pools of water, would have gone inside the pit of his own free will, pushed for a more thorough investigation, ultimately was proven right. This is pathetic. There was a study on a few in 21st century, early 21st century, that said that there was sectionality, a certain enforcement that were ingrained with, should we say, KKK type minded type bad seeds. The ones applies to. This was a major study. Where's all the various black congressional person that once applies to? Not a couple here and there a little bit, but collectively saying there must be a ridding of just in genericness of qualified immunity. Remember how people are told, especially Black Americans, if you ain't commit no crime, well, you ain't got to think, you have nothing to sit there and feel, right? Why is that same justification not put toward the bad seed? Say, hey man, if you ain't did anything wrong, well, you shouldn't worry about numbers of congressional people wanting to sit there and get a bill sponsored saying no more generic qualified immunity across the board. Huh? Of course not. This is a very wicked system. It's been wicked for hundreds of years. And the system knows, like, we control this system and we will make sure collectively that there will be no justice for Black Americans. Now, we will help border break illegal immigrants out. We will help numbers of immigration personnel because we will help all these different other people out. We would give all this money to Anglo Asians, the one it applies to, because there's no pan-Asian love. Look what's going on in various types of Asian countries right now. They still have tensions with each other. What about the Afro-Asians? Do you understand? I mean, the list goes on and on. No, I'm just giving an example. You get the point, right? We're going to sit there and give all this foreign aid, all the different places. We got all this billions and billions of resources to Ukraine. You get the point? We get all this foreign aid to various parts of Africa that we are putting ourselves in more and more of those places, and they're taking control. However number of the Chinese, however number of the Lebanese, however number of India, they're taking control more and more all these different places in Africa, a continent. All that tribalism going on, corruption going left and right, and you got ones that flee from this ancient continent, and the ones that apply to have the nerve to tell Black Americans, what y'all talking about? Racism. Go to Haiti's. And let's not get started about numbers of the beautiful Caribbean islands. Ones applies to the one that are bad numbers of people that are fleeing some of those beautiful Caribbean islands, right? That there's no pan-Caribbean love, and some of them have some audacity to try to hurt. Now have the nerve talking about Black Americans. Look what's going on in Haiti right now. Look what's going on in Haiti. Boy, I'm telling you, the game is a very rough tactic toward Black Americans. And the last thing I want to sit there and show, you know what? That's all I want to show. I'm not showing anything else.
Nothing. I know nothing.
That is how certain numbers of people feel within certain parts of Panama's culture, the ones who want to be like someone within the Panama's culture, etc., etc. They're like they don't see nothing. They don't want to know nothing when it's dealing with things toward Black pain. But something about, when it's some, the few amount of Black Americans that's doing certain things to certain situations of other people, oh my goodness, we must blur that out. See how the game goes. More Black Americans about to wake the freak up. Oh, yeah, let me show you one last thing here. Hold on. There is a war happening. There is a major war happening to our Black Americans. Wake the freak up. I don't know what happened. It just went off behind the screens. See, this is what I'm talking about. It just went back. It just went blank. See, again, the system is a brilliant system, right? Again, they do not like reality information being talked about, right? More Black Americans gotta wake up and realize what's going on this situation. I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP show.